A Giants podcast for Giants fans
by Giants fans.
From the offseason through the wins and the losses. It's time to take one Giant step.
Welcome into One Giant Step, a Week 5 preview edition. Shaun, Morash, Bryce, Gelman here with you. Oh, when the Saints come marching in. Oh, when the Saints come marching in. It's the Giants and Saints on Sunday, a game at the beginning of the year when we were doing the old Mike Francesa. That's a win. That's a loss. That's a win. This was like the one win everybody circled, which, more on that later. Makes me a little more nervous as the week has gone on. The Vegas line has shifted, but here we are. Bryce, full disclosure, I think this is always important to let our audience know, depending on when you're listening to this. We are recording this on Wednesday as opposed to a Thursday this week. The holiday is obviously
Yom Kippur tomorrow.
Yom Kippur.
And you don't work on Yom Kippur. So that's why we're doing this Wednesday morning. Thank you, Shaun, for being so amendable here.
Respect. That's what it's all about. But I say that to say the Giants are going to begin practicing around the time we're recording this. So we don't have the full reports yet, but we do know Malik Nabers obviously on IR. The worst fears were realized, the torn ACL. I was a little stunned, Bryce. I know I got caught up in Yankee mania on Tuesday, but I kept refreshing on a day off. Are we going to see any tryouts? And it feels like the Giants are kind of, at least for 1 week, stick with status quo in the replacement of Malik Nabers, which would mean more Jalen Hyatt, more Bo Collins, away and away we go from there. So let's just start here, Bryce. Now that the dust is cleared on an exciting Giants win in the Jackson Dart era starting, and we were all bummed out about Malik Nabers, and we weren't necessarily surprised by the fact that he had torn ACL. The realization comes in. The Giants are underdogs now as it stands versus the Saints after opening up as a favorite. I'm assuming the Nabers deal has a lot to do with that as money is flooded in as well on the New Orleans Saints. This is going to be a challenge, and I don't think it can be understated at all that for the New York Giants, Malik Nabers was everything about target share for that offense, and it is going to be impossible to replace him with a singular player. And as long as we have our headspace and know that, so the offense, what will it look like without Malik Nabers? I mean, we're going to touch on that in a couple names, but just off the jump, this is going to have to be collaborative, and Jackson Dart's going to have to be spreading this ball out to numerous players because you're not going to get that one-on-one safety valve from Malik Nabers the rest of the year.
Yeah, you heard a lot this week about the Giants having to look internally with their receivers, and a lot of people have thrown out the idea of going out and getting the Odell Beckham Jr., and that's another story and another topic for another day. I think, it couldn't hurt. The vibes could be nice. Whatever. That's another story for another day. I think the idea that the Giants now have this issue at receiver could mean a lot for Tyrone Tracy's involvement whenever he returns from injury. Of course, he was a receiver at college, turned into a running back, and he could be a huge factor in that receiving game. They might go, dual running backs with him and Scatterboo, even though they did go double backfield, but that wasn't, it was never Scatterboo and Devin Singletary on the field at the exact same time. Brian Dable is going to have to switch things up here if they want to continue to look internally. There are a few trade targets out there. I don't know how smart of a trade each of those would be. You'd have to.
Yeah, they don't have a second-round pick. Remember that.
I think it's a third-round pick. I think they gave a third-round pick. I'm almost.
Oh, do I have that screwed up? Okay,
I think so. Someone put it out. It went viral, and then that person was corrected. But yeah, I mean, I think that Brian Dable is going to have to be versatile with his play calling, or Mike Kafka, the two of them combined in terms of the offensive scheme. We're going to have to switch this up because as of right now, the receiving core is not good enough to win more than 3 or 4 games this season, Shaun. With a rookie quarterback, even with the threat of the run with him, it's going to be an extremely run-heavy offense. I could not reasonably see the Giants win more than 3 or 4 games. And I'm not sitting here to tell you the sky is falling or whatever. And we understand it's week 5. Still, that's a massive loss when you lose Malik Nabers.
You're right. I just looked it up. They don't have their third-round pick. I don't know why in my head I had my second. I don't know what you were referring to. I didn't see anything online, but in my head.
Out there, and I caught that too.
Oh, wow. Okay. For some reason, I don't know why I spent the whole summer thinking it. Okay, either way, trade targets, whatever.
Amazing. Amazing. Now we got a second-round pick.
Yeah, right. Look, Darius Slayton is going to have to step up. Unfortunately, we've lived in a world where Darius Slayton is the Giants' #1 wide receiver. Okay. Wan'Dale Robinson has played well. I was a little disappointed with the Wan'Dale Robinson usage under Jackson Dart, but I assume that goes back up in the slot. And I think this becomes a tight ends world where Theo Johnson and Jackson Dart clearly have some kind of chemistry and rapport. You had heard that stuff post game about what they had worked on that play that basically sealed the game. And you saw Theo obviously catch that shovel pass touchdown. This is going to have to be a tight end is a quarterback's best friend, right? We talked about that last week and ended up coming a little bit to fruition. And also, inevitably, I think it was Dan Shire that tweeted this out, and he's right. Whether it's pretty or not, the Giants have a job to do in improving this young quarterback week to week. And this is going to be a run first offense as much as you can. And they're going to run out of the shotgun. It might hurt him inside the red zone. You mentioned Tyrone Tracy if and when he does come back. I say it, but when he does come back, I wouldn't be opposed to Tyrone Tracy and Cam Scatterbo being used on the field at the same time. I think that is something that offensively the Giants could look at. And Cam Scatterbo is going to have to just be a workhorse with a lot of read options. But Jackson Dart's capable of throwing the football. So we will see. Here's the question, though. Bo Collins, Jalen Hyatt. Between the two of those guys, can both not be complete zeros. And Bo Collins doesn't deserve that kind of grief. He's an undrafted rookie free agent out of Notre Dame that earned his right to make the team. Jalen Hyatt, if you were ever looking for an opportunity to salvage some kind of career in the NFL, Malik Nabers getting hurt, and the team actually using you on the field a bunch last week with Jackson Dart on the field. I know he was run blocking well. Okay, whoop-de-doo. I shouldn't poo-poo that. I mean, that is a big deal. But can you do anything but run in a straight line? So I'm interested to see, Bryce, especially versus a team like the Saints. And just real quickly, specifically this week, the Saints are 18th in pass defense, 18 in rush defense. But where they get screwed is they are 30th inside the red zone in the NFL. They are a terrible red zone defense. Everything else, though, as far as yardage, they're just behind the middle of the pack. So it's not the worst defense in the world, but inside the red zone, they are just giving up touchdowns at an insane clip. What can the Giants do inside this red zone? And can any of these wide receivers be viable where it's not just reliant on Jackson Dart, Theo Johnson, and Cam Scatterbo this week?
Yeah, again, I think it's essential that the Giants switch things up. And I'm happy that the experimentation can happen against a bottom half defensive team. They allowed 41 points to Seahawks, Shaun. 44 points to the Seahawks.
Yeah, terrible.
I mean, their average, their opponents are averaging 30 points per game against them. This is a good opportunity here for the Giants offense. It's not like there's a lot of pressure on them. Of course, that they have to look competent after what happened last week, but they're not favored in this game. Let's put it bluntly. They're not. They should be. I think they should be, but they're not. So the pressure is kind of is not as big as it should be on them if they were favored. And again, gambling lines, spreads, that they don't really mean that much. But the idea that the Giants' outlook now for the rest of the year is potentially 3 or 4 wins. The fact that they're not favored in this game, which is probably going to be their easiest game the rest of the way, maybe the Raiders, it's a little concerning. And it's also something I think lends itself positively to the Giants. Like, listen, there's no pressure here. Jackson Dart, he beat the Chargers. Second half, didn't have Malik Nabers. What can you do now? What experiments can you run?
Ooh.
What different schemes can you run?
I disagree with you, Bryce. I actually think there is enormous pressure to win this game from the New York Giants standpoint because you look up and down that schedule. You can't have it both ways where the schedule's that difficult. You look at a game like the Saints. By the way, there's pressure on the Saints to win this game, too. If you're going to go winless, how many winnable games are on their schedule? I know they play Carolina this year inside their division.
Looking at both those teams, the Saints definitely have more pressure than the Giants do. You don't have Nabers. I don't think anyone expects them to figure it out immediately on offense. So, I think normally with Malik Nabers, you win the last game. You go into this game. Of course, they're extremely high expectations, but you don't have Nabers on offense. The defense, of course, week in, week out, has pressure. The offense, this is more of a moving thing. There are a lot of moving parts on offense. So I think at the end of the day, defensively, yes, there's pressure. Offensively, let's figure it out first, and then let's apply this pressure.
Let's get to the defensive side of the ball and the defensive identity of this team, the New York Giants. They had 3 pass rushers inside the top 10 at pass rush win rate this week. Okay, Abdul Carter was at the top of his game. It was the best game we've seen from Abdul Carter in his young career as far as pass rush goes. And, by the way, novel concept, Darius Muasau came back. They got to use Carter in the snap share as far as an edge rusher, was pretty even between the three of those guys. Kayvon, by the way, when are you going to step up and give your Kayvon apology? He's been pretty freaking good through 4 weeks, just winning reps
You're paying him $40 million?
non-stop.
You're paying him $40 million?
Quarterback on a rookie deal. Why the hell wouldn't I do that?
I'm not.
Okay,
I'm
well,
not
guess what? That's how you go back in the
Get
tank.
a first-round pick for him. Trade him away.
You're not going to
get a first-round pick for the Lions.
Trade him away. You're trying to build a defense with pass rush depth that comes in waves. I'm signing Kayvon Thibodeau. He's been good. Brian Burns is having an all-pro year. Might be the best edge rusher in football through 4 weeks. And I couldn't get enough.
Myles Garrett. But yeah.
Brian Burns' stats every single which way you do it.
You're taking Myles Garrett this season over Brian Burns.
It's not who you're taking. Who has been the best through 4 weeks? It's okay to have nice things.
Brian Burns is on pace for 17 sacks. He's been amazing, but he's also got Dexter Lawrence in the middle eating up all those double teams.
Great.
I digress. Playing devil's advocate.
But this is the point. This is why you sign a Kayvon. You want all these guys because you got to cherry pick. Burns has been awesome. As far as this game goes now, Paulson Adebo coming back to play the New Orleans Saints. You know, he's looking at the chops. Can he hold on to an interception? This game will be won or lost, not because of everything we talked about offensively. Of course, you got to score some points, and you're trying to figure out a way to win with Malik Nabers. This defense feels like it's coming on and coming on and coming on, and they really took advantage of a porous Chargers defensive front. They got a couple turnovers. Spencer Rattler hasn't won a game in his NFL career. He's 0-14, and there are murmurs, especially when you see the Browns news going to Dylan Gabriel. The Giants got on the dart. There are now beginning to be murmurs out of New Orleans. Is this the week at halftime they pull Spencer Rattler and go to Tyler Shuck? Could that happen as well? This is a game to me, Bryce. It is a zero excuse when you think about the defensive identity and rushing the passer not to just own this game. Look, if the Giants come out of this game and they win the game 9-3 because the offense struggled without Nabers, that's okay. You cannot have the New Orleans Saints dog walk you and create big plays, have Alvin Kamara take off for a 50-yard rushing touchdown, have Chris Olave, beating Cordell Flott over the top for a 45-yard bomb. This cannot become that kind of game. When you want to talk about the defensive presence, this defense needs to build on what happened with the Chargers and leave no excuses versus a Spencer Rattler-led Saint offense.
Yeah, 100%. And you look at again these past few weeks for the Saints, and they've struggled offensively. Their most points scored in a game was 21 against the 49ers. This Giants defense is unlike any defense that they faced all year with their the dynamic pass rush that they have. And last week, as people know, if they listen to this podcast, I was there in person, and I saw it with my own 2 eyes. Abdul Carter absolutely eating on the edge. And I said last week, I said early on this week, I said, what a revelation, playing the guy that you drafted at his actual position. And he excelled in that role. And the Giants could just throw these guys in. It's almost impossible. They play 66% of the time. Each of them is going to have fresh legs on every third play. They sit out. They come back in. So I think that lends itself extremely well. The Saints offense is just where's the firepower coming from? You had Chris Olave getting 25 targets a game. Jawan Johnson had a few good games there. Spencer Rattler, is he a threat to throw it at all deep? No, I don't think so. But the Giants are most susceptible at getting beat, down the field and also in the run game. But I think they've gotten better at that throughout this season. But still, that threat of a deep ball could be a problem. Spencer Rattler, though, get to the quarterback. Continue to do it.
I agree.
Continue to get to the quarterback. That's
Forced turnovers. Forced turnovers. Has to be. No doubt about it. And again, Paulson Adebo has dropped a couple picks. You were supposed to be this ball hawk. He's going to be licking his chops in the spot. This is, this can't be a defense gets embarrassed when you took their best corner from them game in this way. And it does make me nervous. It does. I'm not going to lie to you, Bryce. I'm on the come down. Maybe I'm a little negative off a Yankees game 1 loss. I'm extremely nervous just when shaping up this game, the way the lines moved and everything else. And let's just get to the Vegas portion of the program here before we even make a game pick. I know we're going to get to that in a little bit. But the idea that the Giants did open as favorites and go to underdogs, and money probably came in on the Saints, that oftentimes is what happens, right? It flips it around and all this other stuff. I'm just trying to remove my Giant fandom and my Giant knowledge in stuff that I attribute to the gambling world, and like simple stuff. It is very difficult for teams to go 17-0. It is very difficult for teams to go 0-17. It's the hardest thing actually to do in sports is to either be that bad or that good. The New Orleans Saints are eventually going to win a game, probably 2 games, 3 games. That scares me when looking at the Saints schedule and knowing, well, the Giants won a game like the Chargers. Like, that is football. That does worry me in a game like this. Also, the idea that we spent the entire offseason saying this is a game the Giants will win, probably win, everything, and now not having Malik Nabers. I don't think that this is going to be a cupcake gimme game. And I just wonder, if I was not a New York Giant fan, a New York Giant podcast host, a New York sports talk radio personality, if I was not any of those things, and I was doing the gambling stuff, and I lived in Minneapolis, and I was a Viking fan, and I was identifying this game and looking at the board, where would my instincts go? And I think my instincts would go, man, everybody's on that Dart hype for 1 week. They lost Malik Nabers.
Yep.
Saints haven't won a game yet. The Saints are at home. Tricky line. Oh, the Saints are favored? Are they begging me to take the Giants? Everything in my gambling knowledge sharp world tells me the Saints are the play in this game.
Yeah, I mean, Vegas is licking their chops at the thought of people
daring you to take the Giants right now.
You know how many casuals who barely bet, or if they do, they lose a lot, are looking at that line? Ooh, the Giants just beat the Chargers. The Chargers defense 1,000 times. Well, now look at this. The Saints defense is atrocious, averaging, allowing 30 points per game. You serious? You think I'm not going to take the Giants in this game? You think I'm not? It's kind of a trap. Yeah,
I agree. And on BetMGM, 75% of all cash as of Wednesday was in on the Giants. This game. So, and last week, do you know what the number one cash, at least at BetMGM, the most money spent on a ticket was gambling-wise? Total money, not just a singular ticket. Chargers laying 6.5. Had 88% of the market on it. And what happened? The Giants won the game. So I know we're not a gambling podcast per se, but it is funny to bring in those numbers and just have you try to think level-headed about this kind of matchup. I think you guys all probably are getting the sense the weeks going on, the more nervous I'm getting about a team where I just want them to build on it, right? Can I just speak as a fan for a second? They beat the Chargers. Dart started. Wouldn't it be sweet just to actually build on something and win a game versus a bad team and be 2-3 and then go into a short week versus the Eagles? And we'll worry about that game next week. And I'm not telling you I think that they're going to go beat the Philadelphia Eagles right now, but just wouldn't it be nice to wake up on Thursday and just be able to dream a little bit about the idea of, man, could Jackson Dart actually upset the Eagles on a short week? I mean, can we at least get to the point where we could put the hope? No, but Bryce, forget that or not. You know what I'm saying? Just the headspace as a fan. Can we at least just get to Thursday with the idea of, oh man, two in a row for Dart? Could you at least play the could you imagine game? I just want to get there, man. I do.
100%. Again, as I said earlier, this is the best possible opportunity to get things together without your number one playmaker on maybe both ends of the field, Shaun. The idea that this is a bottom 5, bottom 10 defense. This happened a week earlier against the Chiefs when Russell Wilson was under center, and then Jackson Dart had to play a game completely without Malik Nabers. I think he had the opportunity to adjust mid-game. This is all going to be on the fly. So it's an opportunity, a golden opportunity for the Giants to go out there and get some confidence on the offensive end without Malik Nabers. That's what I'm looking forward to in this game. That's what I'm watching for is the offense and how they look. And if they're going to do the dual running backs, even without Tyrone Tracy, maybe to just experiment with Tyrone Tracy still out. But yeah, listen, I think that, again, it's a good opportunity and I'm looking forward to it. And I do agree with that sentiment. The idea, if they're competitive in this game, they win, the offense looks even semi-competent, then we can have those conversations of, the pipe dream of them beating the Eagles on Thursday night. I think it's still a long shot, even if they win the game, but I get where you're coming from because I echo those.
Exactly. Now let's get to our fantasy versus reality segment here. Boy, you love this every week. Fantasy last week, Bryce, did you jot this down? Did I give Theo? I think I did. You did.
I did.
Who did I give?
Scatterboo.
All right, so we both had nice days.
Listen, I put my money where my mouth is, bet Theo Johnson 3+ receptions, and of course that hit on the final drive, on the only pass that they had in that final drive. So, but he also had a touchdown. So there you go.
All right, so I'll start it off as we always do. here's going to be my fantasy play / and when we say fantasy, it doesn't mean necessarily, make sure they're on your fantasy team. It also includes, prop plays and everything else when you wake up in the morning, and people like doing that. But it all ties in. I'm going Giants defense in the spot, Bryce. Okay. I kind of have given and laid out some Easter eggs there. I'm very, very confused as to what the Giant offense is going to look like. Now, I know they're going to try to run like hell with Cam Scatterbo. That much is a bank. So, and we'll see where Bryce goes with this. That much I know. I have no idea where to throw darts, no pun intended, with the wide receiver room. The reason I'm going with the defense in this game, twice last week, this team got inside the 5 with interception returns that were so near a touchdown. They turned the ball over twice. I do think the Giants probably found something there. I think that this is going to be a film room. Shane Bowen wasn't necessarily the same old. I think they could build on it. The sacks are racking up. Could they get a strip sack fumble, something like that, versus a quarterback that at times has been, a chicken with his head cut off with Spencer Rattler. And I keep thinking about these two words, Paulson Adebo. He has dropped interceptions all year. If there was ever a game he's going to be the most jacked up, it's to go back into New Orleans and play in the place, and he knows Spencer Rattler, having done it with him. You could clip this, you could save it. I'll take my victory lap. I think Paulson Adebo is getting a pick 6 in this game. I do. I think Paulson Adebo is getting a pick 6 in this game, and I think the Giants are getting a couple sacks. And I think that would rank up a nice daily fantasy day for you if you have the Giants defense. So that's where I'm at. Now, as far as the reality of the game goes, it ties right into my fantasy play. I'm excited about the Jackson Dart enthusiasm. There's also a reality where Jackson Dart has to stay on the field and not go to the tent because he's taken on too many, hits to the head. Like, that is a big part of the reality. But is for the defense, like, if you guys give up 20 points in this game, Giants could lose this game. The reality is turn the ball over, get a defensive score if you can, and go get quite a few sacks. And then I think that you're probably in a good position to win the game if you're turning Spencer Rattler over. So I'll get my game pick in a second, but the fantasy play with the defense ties right into the reality. The Giants are going to have to win this game by being an absolute force on defense and getting a turnover and, dare I say, a defensive score.
Yeah, I'll get to that. I don't want to jump ahead of myself here. But I think that in this game, my fantasy pick, and I've been pretty good. I got to be honest. I think I'm 3 for 4. I had Wandale earlier. I don't know, but I feel like I've been very solid with this. This week I got Wandale Robinson. I look at the last 2 weeks and the Saints opponents, and I look 2 weeks ago, Jawan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall kind of alternating in the slot there. They both went off. Both had very good weeks. Jawan Johnson a lot better. And then you look at last week, Khalil Shakir. He's got a 5-yard touchdown. He also went for over 80 yards, 5 receptions. So I look at Wandale Robinson being a guy, especially 1 week removed from a Malik Nabers injury. His volume is going to go up. Hopefully he'll have 6 to 7 catches and hopefully longer than that's 8-9 yards a catch and sometimes even 5-6 like it was so often last year. So I like Wandale Robinson in that spot again. Nabers out. Someone's got to step up. I don't think it's going to be Darius Slayton. I think it's got to be Wandale Robinson. That's your most talented receiver remaining. So keep an eye on that. I think Wandale could have a big day. As for the reality of this game, I think the Giants, they're going to get to the quarterback. Like, that's a given in my mind. I really don't think anyone's going to sit here and preview this game and tell you that the Giants defense and their front line is not going to have a field day. Look at what they did last week. And I understand that's without Joe Alt, but I look at this team and I see defensively what they have, what they possess. And that secondary needs a get-right game. You got the Drew Phillips interception last week. Paulson Adebo, of course, making his homecoming. They're going to get takeaways in this game, I think 1 or 2. But I just feel like you play your game, you play within yourself, you get to the quarterback. There are a multitude of ways the Giants can win this game depending on how they play on defense. It doesn't have to be a 6-sack game, but as long as they lock up these Saints receivers or not, do they really jump off the page? Olave, I don't think is the same type of player without a solid quarterback. But I think if the Giants just contain the receivers and get to the quarterback and just play a solid game, the offense could put up 15 points and the Giants can win the game. Like there isn't much firepower on offense. The defense needs to show up in a big way.
I hope you're right, Bryce. I hope you're right. But we'll see where we actually are with our game picks as we go next. Okay. The Giants right now, what are we at? 2.5, 1.5 underdogs.
You want me to let me just confirm?
ESPN bet it just went up to 2.5. So it depends where you're.
No one uses ESPN bet.
You'd be surprised.
No, you use ESPN bet.
I use a lot of books, dude. A lot of books. You got to shop around. It's the only way to do it. Everything in my gut is telling me, Shaun, if you weren't a Giant fan,
2.5 on DraftKings too. So
okay.
Wow.
Everything is trending in the begging to take a Giants bandwagon. That is a sharp play to do it with the Saints. I can't do it. I do think we're going to sweat. I think it's going to be uneasy, but I believe in the Dart Mojo, and I believe the Giants are going to get like a couple big turnovers in this game. This is going to be sloppy at times. It's going to be infuriating. You're going to think the Giants are losing this game at times. I think the Giants win the game 17-13, Bryce. I think it's a very ugly 17-13, 30 points total scored in the game, one defensive touchdown, one Cam Scatterbo type touchdown, enough in field goal range, but the defense does enough that they're just not giving up points at that clip. So I will take the Giants with the points here and think they win the game outright 17-13.
You fell right for it. You said
I did.
You're talking this up, and then you fall right for it. I got to go with you. I'm going to fall for it too. And it's unfortunate now because you're, I believe, 2-2 with the spread, and I'm 1-3. After last week, I took the Chargers. You took the Giants. I'm going to take the Giants here. I just don't see the momentum from last week not shifting over, not moving forward to this week. And I look at what the Giants have on defense, and I don't think Spencer Rattler, as bad as he's been, has faced even close to as good of a defensive line as the Giants are.
I agree.
And you look at quarterbacks like that who are struggling, who are fighting for their jobs, they're going to try to make things happen when they're not there. He's going to hold on to the ball for too long. Abdul Carter is going to bring him down for a sack. Brian Burns will get involved there. And that's just not how you play against a defense like this. You just got to get out of the pocket, throw the ball away. And I don't think Spencer Rattler is going to want to do that. He's trying to hold on to his job here. So I think the Giants are going to both win the game. And I think that they're obviously going to cover that spread in terms of in terms of the score. I think the Giants win 17-10. It's kind of similar to what you said, but it's going to be a low scoring game. Again, as I said, the Saints are allowing 30 points per game. This Giants offense is not, there's no firepower there. They're not going to meet that number, but I don't think that offense is going to be that hard to come by. But scoring in the red zone without Malik Nabers might be an issue here, no matter how bad the Saints are defensively in the red zone. That's why I don't think that they score more than 17 points this game, Shaun.
But guess what? We're saying this like, oh, can you only 17 points? We'll take it. If the Giants are 2-3, we will take it, and we will spike up.
That was the feeling going into the season, right? Like the Giants' offense was going to be borderline incompetent, but the defense is going to have to save them a lot of these games. How many games do we go through? The 10, 11 games.
Yeah.
The Giants are big underdogs, and we both said, in order to upset any one of these teams, the Giants' defense, they got to get to the quarterback. And as long as that continues to be a trend, they have a chance in all these games. Will they win all of them? Absolutely not. But they will be in these games.
Yeah. So, and this is where we are programming-wise, okay? So we are doing this podcast, a little preview pod. Remember, next week gets funky. So at some point, Sunday night, Monday morning, you are going to get a One Giant Step in your feed if you download and subscribe, where we react to what happened with the New Orleans Saints game. We are going to have a quick turnover, though, because there is a Thursday night football game next week. Bryce and I will discuss. Bryce, I'm targeting at some point Tuesday to do a preview pod. My Wednesday looks a little jam-packed, but we will figure out timing.
Yeah, I mean, look out for it Wednesday morning or Wednesday.
Yeah, exactly.
It will be released either way on Wednesday.
We'll figure out when to do it.
Time on Thursday to listen before the game.
Exactly. So just that's why you want to download and subscribe to One Giant Step. These Thursday night games, things get wacky with a schedule. At Bryce Gelman on Twitter and X. At Shaun Morash on Twitter and X. Oh, when the Saints lose a game. Listen to One Giant Step everywhere podcasts are available. Thank you, everybody.